Welcome to Watch More Football. It's episode 19, and things are going to be a little bit different this week, but I'll explain that in a minute. You're watching us on the Genre versus Sports YouTube channel. It's a new channel, so please give it a like and a subscribe if you can. It would really help us out. And we do have some more sports content coming soon, which is being devised by the powers that be as we speak at the moment. You can also check out the main Genreverse YouTube channel because we have a lot more content on there. Everything to do with entertainment news, reviews, reactions, tons of anime stuff on there, which is really, really popular. That producer Kel gets involved in. We also cover all that kind of content on our website, lrmonline.com, where you will find me writing articles, usually on a day-to-day basis. Reviews, reactions, rumours, all that sort of stuff. So please feel free to give that a check out as well. So I did say that this week was going to be a little bit different because last week, if you watch every week, another one,
Rich.
If you're watching every week, we all know we didn't do predictions last week, and that's because there was no Premier League football. It was international.
That's why we're all happy this week.
Yeah, so no one's really disappointed. Well,
apart from Cam because he's Scottish.
I mean, it wasn't a great result. So we can talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, so what the guys wanted to do was pick their teams for England for the Euros this summer. So we're going to be going through an England team picker that all four of us did, but you'll see when it gets to mine, it's a little bit different. But these three guys are all England fans. They do want England to do well at the Euros. So we're going to talk through their picks for who should be in the starting 11. It doesn't really get into subs, I guess, but I mean, I guess it's all about the starting 11. So I think the first one that we've got up is Dave's team, I believe.
Should be
Dave.
It's not what I would have chosen if everybody was fit and everybody was playing. Like, it's got Maguire in there, who I'd never expect to be picked at all because he's shit.
Does okay for England.
You can't disagree, really.
But I mean, nobody else really gets a chance, and so far in the Premier League this season, nobody's really standing out. So even Colwill for Chelsea, I had high hopes for him, but he's only played left back for us this year, and I think now he might be injured. I'm not sure.
Of course he is. He plays for Chelsea.
Yeah, true. And somebody like Tomori never gets a chance. Guehi maybe, but he's never getting opportunities at England to really show what he can do. Dunk has been a bit of a miss this year, hasn't he? So that's why I've got Maguire.
They should be maybe giving some of these guys. Some of them are getting call-ups, but not really playing. So do you think he should be trying some of these other defenders in some of these?
He tried Dunk the other day, didn't he?
He doesn't really need to see what Maguire can do.
Brought him on, and then he was responsible for the goal, wasn't he? So
yeah, but he's got.
You got to give him a chance. So yeah, that's the only reason Maguire's in there. Stones is always going to be in there.
I guess we're assuming Shaw's fit for the left back.
Yeah. I would have had Chilwell in here, but he's only played like 5 games in the last 2 years, and he played the other day. He played terrible. You can tell he's barely played at all, so that's why I've got Shaw in there, sadly. Alexander-Arnold never really gets many opportunities for England, but it's either him or Walker. I would put Reece in, but again, there's no telling if he's going to be fit or not. He's barely played, so,
But unless you were playing Alexander-Arnold, you'd play him at right back.
Yeah, I know he's been playing in midfield a bit more this season, hasn't he? Or a bit further forward.
You kind of get in that midfield, man.
No, you're not going to. Still really good midfielders. So, yeah, just by default, I think I would have Reece there, but unless he plays like 2 months of club football before the tournament happens, I don't see it personally.
Fair enough. And you've went for quite an attacking lineup in terms of like you've 4-2-3-1 here.
I like my 4-2-3-1 and 4-3-3.
So
4-3-4-3.
Different.
The Bowley formation.
That's the change.
4-2-3-1 and 4-3-3 pretty much near enough the same formation nowadays.
But, the reason I'm saying it's more an attack lineup, Dave, is because you don't really have two pivots, which Southgate likes to play with. A double pivot, you've more went for, Bellingham being in there as the
Although weirdly, and we'll see in mine, which is quite similar, you have put Bellingham sort of further back alongside Rice by going 4-2-3-1.
Yeah, that's because he's got Foden in the middle, though. That's because he's got Foden.
We'll come on to mine in a minute, and I'll explain how I've got it.
Yeah.
Do you guys, other two, have any comments on Dave's, or would you rather just wait to get on to yours and explain why your decisions are better?
Yeah, I think all 11 of those players to a man are absolutely rubbish and shouldn't be on the field.
Right, on you go, Dave. Carry on.
I've gone with Grealish on the left. We don't have a plethora of options there, to be honest. You got Sterling, who's crap, but he's not even being picked for England nowadays. You got some guy who plays for Newcastle, can't remember his name. Rhymes with Mordon or something like that. But he hasn't shown anything really this year to show that he can be displacing Grealish.
You're not getting a bite.
Yeah.
I put Foden as like a number 10, but really he's more of a roaming player. So he could sit further back. He can push forward, just roam about really. And Saka on the right, he pretty much picks himself, to be honest. Saka, he's great at taking on players, and I think the other day you could see that we missed him because against Brazil it's terrible in attack, but we can discuss that later. And Kane up front just picks himself, doesn't he? There's nobody else like him in the England squad. It's my team.
All right, Dave. So I think next up is producer Kev. Where are we next? Sorry, is it Mick or Ryan?
Oh, you're not going to pick about my team?
You've got Mick coming up next.
Oh, well, I figured they would kind of, as they go through theirs, they're picking apart yours at the same time, is what my thoughts were. Do you know what I mean? To say why you're wrong and their decisions are better. But, we can see we're well organised. It's a well-oiled machine.
We always are.
Tonight. Sorry, who was next?
Mick.
All right, Mick. You want to talk through your team and say why yours is better than Dave's, basically?
Because Walker's better at right back than freaking Trent Alexander and whoever you call him for
that is
start.
True. I just saw him limp off the other day and thought, well, that's him buggered. So.
Nah, I think he'll be fine. Tomori, I've put him in instead of Maguire. I mean, he's playing really well for Milan at the minute.
It's not going to happen, though. He's not even in,
Southgate doesn't even know who he is.
Yeah, he's not in this
squad. But the thing is, he should be. This is my pick. You know what I mean? The way that I think that England should be lining up, and the reason I've put Trippier at left back is because Shaw has barely played this season. Well, there's that, but we don't even know if Shaw will be fit.
Mm-hmm.
You thought he'd be fit after January. That's why he's got rid of Reguilon, wasn't it? And then look what happened there. Basically the same midfield as Dave. For me, that picks itself. Them three midfielders there, Saka and Kane. And I have put Gordon in because he plays for Newcastle. No.
Is that the only reason? I mean, would you genuinely pick him ahead of... Let's say they're both
right now, because the way that I'm looking at it is right now, Grealish has played 14 games this season.
So he's fresh.
That's a lot of games.
he's been injured for so long. He's been injured for so long. How fit is he going to be coming around to the tournament?
Every game, practically.
If he's fully fit, then I would put Grealish in ahead of Gordon. Of course I would. Who wouldn't?
But you're kind of not sure he is.
I'm not sure that he's going to be fit, and he hasn't exactly been great when he's played in them 14 games this season. Anthony Gordon has had one hell of a season this season.
Well, they've kind of
the only other one that's going to be fit.
I don't know if you two disagree on that. I mean,
the only other one that's going to be fit.
The
only other one that's going to be fit in that position is Rashford, but he hasn't exactly had the best season, has he?
He's in form.
I would pick Gordon ahead of Rashford.
He's in form.
He's in form, and he was Rashford. And
in form?
Yeah, he's in form.
What kind of form?
That-
We're talking
that's him
about good
in
form,
form,
not shit
Jesus.
form.
No. Compared to the start of the season, he's in form, but also he was England's best player at the World Cup.
Yeah, but we're talking about now, not fucking 10 years ago.
Best player at the World Cup.
He was.
I
Who
don't
had a
say that he was in form.
Bellingham might have been better than Rashford, but I don't know. Rashford. If Rashford had started instead of Sterling against France, we'd got through that.
Another one, I would have put Pope in goal instead of Pickford if Pope had been fit.
Yeah, well, we
But
know Southgate
he's
doesn't
missed too
understand
much.
his either.
He's
And
missed
he
too much
doesn't
of this
rate
season.
Pope, yeah, he doesn't rate Pope, does he? Really? You know what I mean? So,
But the rest of it just picks
Whatever
itself, really. I think everyone else has got pretty much the same.
yeah, I mean, it's the slight differences that we're here to discuss, I suppose.
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it's
for
the
me-
variation that everybody's going to, every England fan out there, and every international fan is going to have a different opinion on who that kind of starting lineup should be.
When you think there's only 10 games left this season, is Grealish back? Is he back
Well,
yet?
he's probably got more than 10.
Oh.
No, there's 10 games left for City.
Oh, right.
Is Grealish back fit yet? How many of those games is he going to feature in? He's only scored 3 goals and got 1 assist in the 14 games he's played so far.
I think
That's
if
not a
he's
very
fit,
good return
even
for
if
a
he's
Man
not
City.
starting
I don't
for
think City
they'll still pick
really-
him.
I think he probably plays better for England than he does City anyway, just because of how City are set up.
Yeah. Gordon gets in the header for me at the minute.
I think Gordon, I mean, I didn't watch all of the game against Brazil, but I thought he was I only watched the first half. I thought he was England's best player in the first half. I didn't watch the second half at all, but he was highest rated amongst like, the fan votes and BBC and stuff like that.
He was definitely the most direct because you had Foden on the right, but Foden kept trying to come inside. So he was, he was direct. He was running at what was.
I like him better in the middle.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So he was more direct, and he was an outlet definitely. And Bellingham kept trying to find him, but he can't do it all on his own. I think Gordon's going to be good as an impact sub to sort of run at some tired defenders because he's an absolute nuisance, isn't he?
Yeah. That's where I could see him fitting in. You could put him anywhere in the front three where you've got an injured player or you just need somebody.
Grealish is exactly,
and he can do a defensive job as well.
Grealish is exactly the same. He's a nuisance going forward, isn't he?
He's a nuisance.
He just gets kicked the shit out. Gets kicked the shit out of, doesn't he?
Track back as well as Gordon does, though, and he's not as quick. So they have different attributes, but it depends what you're trying to do in a game. You might be trying to defend the game and hitting the break, and actually you'd want Gordon rather than Grealish for the break because that's not really Grealish's game. His game's when you've got the ball and you're on top and you're trying to break a team down. Anyway, should we move on to Ryan's team?
Yeah.
Mine won't take long. So, you want to talk us through your England lineup, Ryan?
So it's exactly the same players as Dave, but my tactical thinking is maybe slightly different. And what I would say is it's sort of a mix between what I think should be and what I think Southgate's going to go for. Because what Southgate's
I did notice
done,
that you've mixed up. You've decided to play Maguire right centre back and Stones
that's part of his
left.
tactical.
it's the game. That's the game-changing move.
So I wondered if that was it. Yeah.
What I would say, Southgate always gets criticised for picking his favourites, but what he's always done is he's treated it like a club side. He's picking players based on how they actually fit into his team, not based on whether they've got a few months of form or not. And that's why he's been successful, because every successful team that you've had over the last sort of 10, 15 years or so has had, like, if you say like the Germany team that won the World Cup, you know exactly what that looks like. Same with the Spain team. So, same with the France team, because they're actual unit, which is where Southgate's sort of biggest strength has been. But in terms of how I'd set up with these players, I'd have Trent in, not necessarily because he's a better right back than Walker, but what he can do is I wouldn't play him in midfield 100%, but I'd have him drift in like he does for Liverpool, so that Rice, as the single pivot, if he decides he wants to go forward, Trent can sort of fill in and give him there. And then you've got Foden and Bellingham have a bit more license to be creative because you've just got that extra layer of protection in the middle. Maguire and Stones, they're just, they're a good partnership, and I think this tournament's sort of going to be a bit of a a last dance for that sort of generation that Southgate first took on in 2018. I think going forward, you're going to see the likes of Bramthwaite and Conser and maybe Guehi start getting games. But these two, I think, for all Maguire's not been good for United over the last few years, although he's having a good season this season, he's always been pretty dependable for England, which is why Pickford's still in the squad. Sure, if he's fit, he's got to play. He's our best left back. Sort of, it's not even close, I don't think.
I mean, there isn't really anyone else, is there? We're talking about if he's not fit, playing Kieran Trippier, who is a right back. So
we could
play left back.
I mean,
we could put
Chilwell
things
should be there, but I don't think Chilwell's done enough since he come back to being fit to prove that
he hasn't been fit for
back
2
to the
years.
level he was. I think he's going to take a bit of time to get back to the level he was again.
He was terrible on Saturday.
I mean, like you guys say, I think Saka, Kane, and Rice are basically the sort of the 3 undroppables. They've got to play every game. They're the key. And Bellingham probably put in there as well. Grealish I've got on the left because he can help sort of keep the ball a bit. He's not going to be direct running necessarily, but that's what Saka's there for. Grealish can sort of keep the ball, recycle the ball, play in the likes of Foden and Kane and Bellingham. And then you have got the likes of Rashford or Gordon off the bench if we need something a bit more direct.
Would you take them both, or would you just take? Because I'd think that there seems less room for them to take all 3 of them, Grealish, Gordon, and unless you're saying Gordon's also covering the right as well.
I think
Rashford can also cover up front.
No, he can't.
Yeah, he can't even cover left freaking side, never mind anywhere else, but
I wouldn't want to see Rashford anywhere but on the right, but I think there's enough sort of versatility there to cover the right. I think Bowen's probably going to miss out on this squad.
I don't think he should.
No, I think Bowen's pretty useful.
But have Rice as a single pivot and make sure either he doesn't go forward or Alexander-Arnold or Stones are there covering him if he does. and I think we'll be good, and that would solve a lot of the problems that we had on Saturday against Brazil, because we were, all 3 of them, Rice, Foden and Bellingham and Gallagher, actually all 4 of them, we're all trying to sort of get into the same space and really leaving things open on the counter. So we need to, especially when we come up against the likes of Portugal and France, who've got really rapid players on the counter, and even Germany to an extent, we're going to have that little bit of protection and ball retention.
Just where you're saying Bowen's going to miss out after the season that he's had. There's no way he can miss out on this.
It's not about, like I said, it's not just about form. It's where does he fit in.
Well, what I was going to say is what's really valuable in his time. It's just players who can play in more than one position.
Yeah,
and Bowen's one of them.
And who've got
Bowen
the
is one of them.
But I just don't see where he fits in, because you've got Watkins and Tony that he might bring, and really there's only space for one of them, because how often is Kane not going to be on the pitch?
Yeah, so it'll be Watkins.
It's going to be Watkins. How often is Saka? I think it should be Tony, though, because Tony, I think, plays more similarly to Kane than Watkins does.
But then you need something different in times when you need
don't,
change.
because he's not going to...
What you're talking about, though, is Tony before the betting.
Yeah.
And I don't think that Tony has appeared yet.
But I don't think you're not going to... If you're chasing a game, you're not going to sub Harry Kane off for Ollie Watkins. The only time you're going to not have Harry Kane on the pitch is if he's injured or knackered.
Yeah.
And then if you're built around... If you're building the squad around playing to Harry Kane's strengths, you sort of want the sub forward to be like a sort of Harry Kane from Wish almost. Like,
what if he gets injured and you need somebody that can score goals, and playing that front foot? And I know it's a difficult.
Yeah,
it's not. I know what you mean.
Like my thinking on it is, you think about where England were 20 years ago, and there were a load of really good players, and it was just about getting them in because they're good players and they're playing well. And you came up with some really lopsided sides, and you came up with some really bang average squads just because somebody had played well for a few months and deserves his England call up with no thought whatsoever as to how they actually fit together as a team. That's what Southgate has done, is actually put them together as a team. And if somebody's going to come into that, they've got to have a really clear role. And I don't know that Bowen's quite there yet. He might make it, he might start looking at him for the next squad if sort of Kane takes a step back, for example. But
Bowen's not really a striker, is he?
He's been playing down the middle for West Ham.
But
he has just recently.
It's more like
not purely because of their absences.
Yeah, he's more of an attacking mid / winger kind of player.
He's been the furthest forward player for West Ham.
So because of all the injuries.
But that's where his form's come in. He's been playing better as a striker than as a winger.
No, he was great last year as well.
He was brilliant.
He was playing down the middle then as well.
Not as a forward.
Yeah.
As an attacking midfielder, where the legs of Foden plays. That's where he was playing last season.
For me,
that's the way that he could come in.
What I would say is,
like Madison,
multiple positions, and to me, the obvious answer is that Rashford can't, and therefore should be left at home.
Yeah, I mean,
Sense.
But it's the thing is where he's previously played well for England under Southgate.
When was that though? That was a while ago.
In the last tournament, in the World Cup.
World Cup.
Well. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he played that well. Maybe in the last Euros he did.
He did.
In the World Cup, well, it's fine. In the World Cup he wasn't a starter, but whenever he did play, he was the one making things happen. And it was a really big sort of shock that he didn't start the game against France, whereas Sterling, who'd just literally flown back into the country a day before, had. And I do think if Rashford had started that game, it would have been a lot different, because Sterling was bloody awful.
In the France game?
Yeah.
Which means, I guess that takes
Sterling went home because his house got robbed. And then he came back like the day before the match and got put straight into the side, even though it was Rashford who'd actually dragged us through to that round anyway.
I mean, yeah, I do recall that now, and I'm not sure that made a lot of sense, but I guess it was that loyalty thing of Sterling had play the games up to that point.
I think we can all agree that Sterling's England career is finished now, though, because he's not made a squad for a year now.
Should be.
For the moment.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, what age is Sterling?
28.
30.
No, he's not 30 yet. It feels like he's 30, but
yeah.
he's not.
I mean, he
I think
could still
he started
come into form, playing with a good team, and get himself back into the England squad again, I think. But
I think a bit like Rooney, because he started so young and was playing like full seasons at such a young age, he's probably going to peak earlier and drop off earlier.
Was he like 17 or something?
The player, that doesn't always happen. Though.
No, but Sterling
doesn't always happen.
Sterling looks like he's in his 30s now, as much as it's possible for Sterling to look like he's in his 30s. He looks worn down, doesn't he?
I think he needs to work up.
That's just probably playing for Chelsea.
He just needs to pass.
It might just be that he's been playing for City and now he's at Chelsea and things aren't going well, and just that's not
that mentality block
as well. I don't know. Should we look at my team? This won't take very long.
Well, so I was going to say one last thing. I loved that Kobbie Mainoo got his debut at Wembley the other day. I would leave him home because this this ought to be Southgate's last tournament. I think he's earned the right to take us there, but he's also probably taken the team as far as he can, whether he wins it or not. And I think it ought to be Southgate's last tournament, and it will be good for players like Mainoo, players like maybe Miley, Bowen, for example, Cole Palmer, to sort of lead that rejuvenation, because there is still a big core of the side that's there from 2018, and they really need to be moved on after this tournament, even if Southgate's not.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see Mainoo be sort of, good as he is. A, he needs the rest because he's ahead of schedule in terms of his games played. And B, he should be sort of part of the new wave from the next international break after the tournament, in my opinion.
I agree.
I guess you can make the argument with Gordon that way as well. Do you know what I mean? That he's still young, he's got plenty of time, and it's hard to get into an England team at the moment where they've got so many good players. Well, we bring up my team and we'll look through them quickly. Obviously, I'm not an England fan, so this is just a laugh. I've just picked the most ridiculous team I possibly could. So therefore, Johnson in goals because he's the worst goalkeeper at the options that it gave me available. I've picked Ben White at right back because he doesn't want to play for England.
I was about to say, I'd choose Ben White if he wants to play.
Or anything like that. So I'm kind of just hoping that Ben White is a bad influence on the rest of the team. I don't know who Mitchell is. That's why I picked him.
Place of Palace.
No idea.
Crystal
Don't know.
Palace. He's actually quite a decent player
Does he
as well.
play
decent.
centre back?
Yeah.
Centre
Yeah.
back. Right. Sorry, no offence, Mitchell. I just picked you because I don't really know. I didn't really know who you were. Maguire I picked for the memes, and Dyer I put at left back because I just thought
It's all
we
in the
don't have
name.
any left backs. Jack Glass and Casey emergency put Eric Dyer in there.
That's an
and then
extremely
thing up.
solid. That's a very defensive back four.
It's,
you know
it's
what?
defensive,
We
but
won't
you're
score any
going to need
goals.
it though.
Yeah. Do you know
You're
what?
gonna need
City
it
play
because
with
you've
4
got
centre
no
backs
legs
and they
in
do
your
all right.
midfield.
So I don't see
Maybe
why.
Cam's
Yeah.
Who's playing it smart.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But when you see my midfield, I don't know. I've got Phillips as the pivot, but since he's been terrible and not played much football,
Well,
I
no,
don't
he
think he's
has.
the pick to go.
That's what's kicked him out of the squad is that Gareth Southgate's actually seen him play.
Well, I mean, it's not as if he's been starting every game for West Ham. He's come on.
No,
He's a few
he did
substitutes.
at first.
Came
It was
on, got a red
absolutely
card,
terrible.
and
Yeah,
then
he
was
did.
suspended.
I mean, he did get
Mount
a few
is
assists
currently-
early on, but they were for all for the other team.
Mount's currently injured and probably had his
No,
worst
no, he's
season
back.
for
He's
a
fit.
few.
Yes,
He's
he
fit.
is.
He came off the bench
Yeah, but
against
he's not
Liverpool.
going. He's not going to the Euros, so I would pick him in my starting 11, obviously. And Henderson because I think he's well past it, and he'll
And
probably
I'm not
will
going to
play
be.
there.
I'm
That's
not
probably
being funny
where
here,
he will
Cam.
be there.
1 second, Cam. I'm not being funny, but that's probably the one that you've got bang on because he will be freaking starting if it's got anything.
That's
He
what I
was
was
not
gonna
gonna
say.
start.
I think Henderson will be there.
He's not going to start. He's going to be
Don't know.
there
I
just
don't
to
know.
sort of. He's going to be there as like the link between the coach and the squad, and just sort of.
So he's
be a
going to be
big
there
guy
wasting
around
his
the squad.
space.
Yeah, but yeah,
Maybe.
no.
We've got
Maybe.
enough captains there.
Yeah, we don't need
I
him.
don't know. You have really. I mean, Rice just he's. I think you have to be looking at the next set as well, and I think he's
Yeah.
the old.
Well, so
guy. I don't think he's got legs to play.
Southgate said that he's going to
anymore.
captain England tomorrow night against Belgium on his 50th cap, and I think when Harry
definitely
Kane
Rice.
goes, I think Rice is probably going to be the captain, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I would think he would be a good choice for the future because he's going to be there for so many years and he's upped his game that way. Well, that makes sense. And
He's probably got
gonna be
another
the
fucking
shit.
4
Do you remember
or
all the
5
days
tournaments.
when you told me
playing
that Rice
that
was
Arsenal's
shit?
captain as well.
Yeah,
What, me?
Yes.
Yeah, all of you.
I
pretty
did,
much.
didn't
yeah.
I never said it.
All the time he was at West Ham, he was rubbish, and then as soon as he got a
shit, I
move,
just didn't think that he was as good as everybody made a fuss out about him at the time. And actually, that was about that. What was even last season? That was the season before that, I believe. And at that
He's
time,
been
I still
great at
said,
West Ham
I
all
don't
this
think
time.
he'd done enough yet, and I didn't
He's
think he
been
was a 100 million
fantastic.
player. Last season, he played really well for West Ham, especially in the European competitions. And, that.
He's
And
been
for me,
great for
he's
years.
improved his game since
And
he
he's been-
joined Arsenal. He's went up to that next level.
he's been excellent for England as well.
He was great in the Euros.
yeah.
You know, but
He was getting asked to
since
just do the simple stuff, the sit and just do it. Arsenal, he's proved he can do a bit more than that. That's.
I think
for me.
we
And it
still
was
need
about
to
whether
have
he
him.
was worth 100 million.
We still need to have him just sit though, because much as he works all right further up the pitch, we've got players who do that better than him. We haven't got anyone who works as a 6 as well as
Yeah,
he
but
does.
sometimes you need to, pull people out of position,
Yeah.
and that's where you can carry the ball up into
Yeah.
areas. Sometimes as long as somebody covers them.
Which
Anyway,
is why having
I don't
someone
want
like
him to
Trent
play.
is important, I think.
That's why I don't want him to play. I've went Bowen right just because Saka's the automatic pick, so I just went for Bowen. I went Calvert-Lewin up front because he's shit and he'll probably be injured, and I went for Sterling because he probably doesn't even deserve to go in the plane. That's pretty much my England team, guys.
That wins
they
it.
get crashed out,
The
destroyed.
the thing is, though,
Yeah.
Cam, that team would still beat Scotland.
Yeah, it would.
He can't even fucking
Maybe.
argue with you there.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. That midfield, I don't think. I think there's a couple of players in our midfield that would compete with them
I'll
at the
tell you what,
moment. The way those three are playing at the
That
moment.
midfield versus
front,
McTominay,
you're
McGinn, and Billy Gilmore, it's just going to be the biggest battle of attrition everywhere. There's just going to be limbs flying everywhere.
Yeah, but I think we've got younger
They're
legs.
just gonna
Scott,
kick 10
Scott
times
McTominay
shit
with
over
blood
each other.
running down his chin, just like standing at the end.
Calvert-Lewin
So,
with a
I
hat
mean,
trick.
That's kind of my team. Is there anything you, before we got into like finishing up and the predictions for next week, because there's no other Premier League stuff, is there anything else you want to talk about with regards to England and international football? Or
I hate international during the season. I've always said it.
I'm the same.
Yeah, I think
boring for
you know,
I don't like
it's a long 2 weeks, but I think I know a lot of people moan about the fact that we're on 2 friendlies and they're pointless. They're pointless for the fans, but they're really important, I think, for sort of
team chemistry.
Team. You know, and it's sort of that's not the whether the fans care about watching. It's not really the only consideration. I think they've got to put games on if they've not got competitive ones, and we can either choose to watch it or we can't. And,
I guess there's that. What I like about International Week is that there's always a Newcastle player due back from fitness just after it, whenever there's a national break. Normally it doesn't happen, it's like a week later than that or something like that, but there's always someone who we say, oh, so-and-so is going to come back after the international break. So
what
I
would say is
rest periods. But
what I would say is this international break is really annoying while it's happening, but it does sort of set the running up quite nicely, because then it's just non-stop football until the end of the season and all really high stakes. The one that I'd get rid of is the September one, which comes right after the transfer window closes. I think that's
the worst.
The season's just got started. You've just stayed up till midnight watching you sign a player on loan from Stoke,
and there might have been a
and then all of a
tournament
sudden football goes away.
That as well.
So I'd bin that off and maybe sort of put a couple more in June to make up for it. Because you could finish the season earlier then as well if you didn't have to take that break.
Well, that's what I've always said, to get rid of all of the breaks and then just play the internationals at the end of the season.
No, because then you only meet up once a year as a squad, and that's shit.
You freaking see each other freaking week in, week out in the Premier League. He never picks anyone from abroad, unless it's Jordan Henderson playing for Ajax.
Well, you got Bellingham now.
And Kane.
Yeah.
And if Cam gets his way, Eric Dyer.
I heard some Bayern Munich fans on Reddit saying that he's been playing well.
I thought he actually has.
That just shows how bad they've been previously. Then I thought, Eric Dyer playing well. Never rated him.
We've probably taken his fee into consideration of that judgment. I don't know.
Do you think he can win the Euros? I mean, you got to the final last time. You're probably second favourites.
I think we're going to go in as one of the favourites. We're going to go in as one of the favourites, but what we've got to do is play like one of the favourites. We've still got this slight inferiority complex, but we've got players who can control the ball. And we need to do that, and really put in statement wins in the groups, because we've got a pretty easy group, to be honest.
Yeah. On the other hand, Scotland have got a very hard group. Our first game is the opening game against the hosts, Germany. So, no doubt,
nice easy win.
That one.
What have Germany done in the last 2 years
before we even start?
They beat France the other night.
Yeah.
Who did? Germany.
Scored within 7 seconds.
That's great.
Yeah,
that's great. That just makes me feel even better. I would love for us to be able to get at the group stages. It's never happened ever in the history.
It's going to this time though,
Scottish
because it's like basically all but about 4 teams are going to go through.
No. You don't know the history. So there's been plenty of times in the past where you look at a group and you say Scotland's getting out of that group.
Who's the rest of your group? Is it Switzerland?
Hungary and Switzerland.
Oh, Hungary
and Germany
have been playing all right.
Yeah,
you're out.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
we just hit tournaments.
But there's 4. There's 4.
Do you remember when we get beat off Costa Rica in the World Cup? We would have been through. All we had to do was beat Costa Rica, the easiest team in the group. Done well against
England,
the other games. Smashed 4-0 off Costa Rica.
We were in the same group.
I remember Scotland getting beat off Costa Rica.
Yeah. No, that was England as well under in the Brazil World Cup, wasn't it? But yeah, it's the four best third place teams go through. So Scotland have got half a chance if they can nick a result against Hungary
or Switzerland.
Telling you. What I would love to see is get some new players in, like some players that don't get picked for England, and try and get them poached for Scotland. But none of them seem that keen, to be honest. Elliot Anderson get kind of poached, and then he pulled out the squad because Southgate must have said, "I think you could play for England in the future. Just give it a few years." So he ain't coming, unfortunately. And I think we were after Harvey Barnes, who's not been fit all season and not played well for Scotland. Yeah, I'm not sure.
He exists as much as Lavia does.
So, I just don't know if he would actually even add anything at this point. I'd like to see him come in because he is a good player and he would add something different to us. But if his heart's not in it either, then...
What you have got is you've got a young midfielder called Lewis Ferguson who plays out in Italy, who's having an absolutely amazing season.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's been like a regular in the squads, but he plays for like Bologna or something like that, and they're sort of chasing Champions League. And
they've been outstanding, yeah.
Banging in the goals. He's early 20s, I reckon. I've just
he's
signed
only
him
a
a career
young
mode.
lad.
Is he box to box, defensive mid?
Go on, Ryan.
Lewis Ferguson, he's 24 years old. And he plays as an attacking midfielder. But I think he's a bit box to box. I've just signed him in my FIFA career mode at the age of 27. He can play all.
I just think he's maybe not going to get in it before him again. But I need to see the boy play. Anyway, that's the end of the internationals because I'm bored talking about international football. So let's go on our predictions for next week, where normal service will resume and we'll be back to the good old Premier League, which we all love. So get your predictions out, lads. Talk about some of these games in a second once we. I can subscribe.
Bollocks.
Ryan, just send me an image of that one, please.
Yeah, no, hang on. I'll just take my background off.
Okay.
No, it still doesn't. It's treated my board as a green screen.
There you go.
Like, subscribe, smiley face. You.
Yes, please. Right. Okay. So, there's obviously one very big game in terms of the title race, which is probably going to be the main.
Liverpool Brighton.
City versus Arsenal will probably be the main game we'll be talking about. I'm guessing, depending on what happens, unless it's a boring 0-0 draw and nothing changes. But I think Cutley is a win.
Even if it's 0-0, something will happen.
Arsenal wins.
Arsenal have a good record against the top six this season as well.
Yeah, I've got Arsenal.
Yeah, they've got 3 points off us.
Arsenal was it right? Yeah. He said the top teams this season.
He said top 6. We finished top 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're not included.
But obviously that is the big game. In terms of other big games, I don't know if there's anything.
There isn't one.
It's not anything big, but there could be a couple of. There could be some good ties. I think
Newcastle versus
West Ham.
Newcastle versus West Ham.
That's probably the second biggest game actually. When you look at where they are in the table,
and both teams are kind of in bad form
for
at the
that
moment.
European slot. Both very inconsistent. You never know what's going to turn up. I went for Newcastle
put it this way.
I think we've been playing so badly that we're going to have the bit between our teeth. We're at home. I just think we might squeeze a win out of West Ham. But
Eddie Howe's had his 2 weeks with the squad. I think Trippier's back. So I think we might come out and get a result. Trippier. He's supposed to be back after the internationals.
I think Barnes is back as well. He was supposed to be
back. Yeah. I think obviously with Willock having a lot longer with a bit more of a rest and a lot more training behind him, I think we'll come out all guns blazing. We'll get a result. If we don't get a result, then kiss goodbye to any kind of European football.
Yeah, I guess it is an important one for us. It's West Ham.
We've got to win that. If we win that,
or being away from home, we kind of need to win it.
The way that I'm looking at it is because
salvage the rest of the season.
We win, Brighton lose, Wolves lose. That puts us only a point behind West Ham in 7th with the game in hand.
Yeah, and at this point, any European football is a target, whether it be Conference, Europa. You're hoping some other teams will fall away, but, we need to, we have winnable games from now to the end of the season that we have to try and win. Our toughest game is at home against Man United, I believe. So,
away to Man United.
Is it away to Man United? Is it?
Yeah.
Sorry. That'll be a tough game when we get to that point of the season, and hopefully we'll be a bit closer to them, but we could also be further away from them by then, and they could go on a run. So who knows? But yeah, well, obviously we'll talk about all these games in more detail next week, and we will have a full fixture list to discuss. Is there any games on the Monday night this week? No.
There's 8 games on Saturday.
Yeah.
8
games. United are playing Brentford at 8:00.
Oh, it's one of those days.
Yeah. Villa play 5:30 against Wolves.
We're the first game, the early game.
We're the first game at 12:30.
Yeah.
Who's the Sunday games?
Good.
Liverpool and City.
And then City versus Arsenal.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, City,
that's not too bad,
it's
actually.
always going to be the tea time game.
Yeah, obviously it's Easter, isn't it? Easter weekend.
Yeah.
Oh, yes,
So
it was. Keep forgetting.
Easter Monday, it's a full fixtures of Championship and League One and all that in it. So
yeah. Okay, guys. Well, that's basically us for this week. Slightly different, but we'll be back to Premier League and talking about our own teams and all the other stuff that's happening in the Premier League next week again, usually about the same time. So give us a like and subscribe if you can, but let us know also in the comments if there's anything that you don't like of the show, you do like of the show that you want to see more of as well. We'd love to hear any of your comments. Just left for me to say thanks to all you guys and see you next week.